Hello everyone and welcome to Big Rock Moto. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I have two sincere favors to ask you as we begin. One is that if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Two, whenever you're shopping for motorcycle parts and gear, you can bookmark my link tree with all my affiliate links, and please use them when you're shopping. These two things help this kind of content go forward, and I sincerely appreciate it. All right, this is the KTM 1290 Super Adventure S. Now, I've already reviewed the off-road oriented brother to this bike, the 1290 Super Adventure R. So the S version is effectively the more road, more pavement-oriented version of the 1290 Super Adventure. So in place of the spoked wheel set on the R model, you get a cast wheel set on the S model. You also change the 21-inch front wheel on the R to a 19-inch front wheel on the S. In addition to that, there's a lot of other differences. And of note are some additional features on the S model. So with the S model, you get some really big differences. You get a fully electronic suspension system with notably less suspension travel than the R model. Again, going more towards the road performance than the off-road performance. You also get some additional features like radar adaptive cruise control. Now, if you watched my 1290 Adventure R review, you kind of already know I have a bit of a crush, a man crush on that bike. It is phenomenal to ride in every respect. So today, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cover the specs and features of this bike, then we're gonna take it out for a good, aggressive ride, both on and off-road. Then we'll come back here, discuss the pros and cons, the main competitors to this bike, and we'll end with some final thoughts. All right, let's talk about the specs and features and take a walk around of the bike. I apologize for being in the garage. It's raining outside, so apologies for that. Base price on this bike is $20,999 for the 2024 model year. Now, I have been seeing these bikes with ridiculous sale prices, but the official MSRP is $21,000. The wet weight of the bike fully fueled up is 540 pounds or 244 kilograms. The engine in this beast is a 1,301cc liquid-cooled V-twin. It makes 160 horsepower and 101 foot-pounds or 136 newton meters of torque. That's hooked up to a 6-speed transmission with a quick shifter and with the slip assist clutch. Suspension is WP Apex electronic and dynamic. It's 7.8 inches or 200 millimeters of travel. You've got numerous adjustments for damping and preload, and it also has the anti-dive technology. Suspension rake angle is 24.7 degrees, and the wheelbase is 61.3 inches or 1,557 millimeters. Brakes are by Brembo. You've got dual 320 millimeter discs up front with 4 piston calipers. Tires and wheels, you've got cast aluminum wheels on the S version, and you have a 19-inch front and a 17-inch rear. Fuel capacity is a generous 6.1 gallons or 23 liters. Electronics on this bike are comprehensive with a 7-inch TFT dash with phone connectivity. You have riding modes. You have a 6-axis IMU or inertial measurement unit. You have radar adaptive cruise control with a customizable following distance and customizable reaction times. You have quick shifter. You have configurable traction control, configurable ABS. You have 9-level adjustable slip control, and you have hill hold control. Quick walk around to show you some distinct features. You can see this is the radar sensor for the adaptive cruise control, signature running lights that KTM has been using. The adjustable windshield, what I like is that you have the adjustment wheel on both sides. You've got handguards, you've got this interesting saddle style fuel tank, foot pegs, which if you want to ride off-road, you can remove those rubber inserts from the fuel pegs. The bike comes with a center stand. The exhaust is very large, which is typical with modern motorcycles to meet emissions and noise requirements. Pretty tidy tail section here. I am disappointed you have incandescent turn signals and not LED. That's very surprising. The tail light is LED. You have a pretty generous rear cargo rack, rear grab handles. You have this 2-piece seat. You have removable passenger pegs. I like how they're removable. This is the key fob because it is a keyless bike. I'll show you that in a second. The shift lever appears to have a little bit of adjustment, which I appreciate. The controls, moving up to the controls on the bike, you have a lot of buttons and switches here because you have a lot of electronics. You've got cruise control, you've got the menu settings here, plus and minus trigger buttons. Over here you have the engine stop start, the hazards, and you've got C1 and C2 custom buttons. The handlebars are adjustable, which I truly, truly appreciate that. We've talked about the adjustable windshield and this large dashboard. All right, I want to show you a few things in the dashboard using my joystick controller here to navigate. We've got bike information. If I go into that, you can see tire pressures, temperatures, fuel range, all that kind of thing. Hit the back button, trip information, that's pretty normal. Motorcycle scene, we've got ride mode, which is street, sport, rain, off-road, rally. So 5 different riding modes there. If I go into ABS mode, I have road, off-road, road and off-road. I guess those are the 2 modes. And then MTC and MSR, that's traction control and motor slip regulation. So that's turned on. If I go into the suspension menu, I can switch my suspension modes. I've got street, I've got comfort, off-road, and advanced. Now, and auto, which is interesting. I guess it automatically adjusts. In advanced mode, I can, well, first of all, preload adjustment. You've got a lot of preload settings, as you can see here, which is nice to have. Anti-dive tightens up the compression damping and the fork under braking. I have that turned on. Fork, in advanced mode, you can then change, and it shows you a little graphic here. It's pretty nice. Oh, I guess I just switched to night mode. Sorry about that. So you can adjust the fork and the shock. You get the idea. All right, now if I go and do cruise control, I can change from regular cruise control to adaptive sport to adaptive comfort. That changes how it behaves. And then the distance, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess, yeah, 5 distances there for following distance. This is some connectivity stuff, some settings. I can change my custom switch, which is the C1, C2 over here. I can choose the favorites, which is the information at the bottom of the dash, tire pressure, different things like that. Overall, this is easy to use, relatively intuitive, and I also like that the switch gear that I mentioned is backlit. Really appreciate that. Another thing that this bike has, which is kind of cool, you've got this phone holding compartment. When I looked at it, I was like, there's no way that's gonna hold my phone. Then I did this. It actually does hold my phone. It's bigger than it looks, and it has a USB charge port inside there. That's pretty cool. Seat height, seating position, and ergonomics for this bike. So your seat height is adjustable in 2 levels. The low position is 33.4 inches or 849 millimeters. The high position is 34.2 inches or 869 millimeters. The seat does get pretty narrow at the front, and so it's not too bad. So let me take the bike off the center stand here. By the way, I really appreciate that this bike comes with a center stand. All right, I am 5'10" or 178 centimeters tall. I have a 32-inch inseam. And if I try, I can flat foot the bike on both sides. Usually when I come to a stop, I'm just putting, 1 foot down. And it's, for my height, it's no concern at all. If you're vertically challenged, so to speak, then adventure bikes are really too tall for you, probably. But the weight balance is very good. It doesn't feel top heavy at all. In terms of the riding position, it's superb. It's almost completely upright, really no forward lean, wide handlebar, very relaxed angle of my knee here, tons of leg room, and you can adjust the seat a little bit to change the leg room. Really, really nice ergonomics on the 1290. All right, cruising the highways on the 1290 Super Adventure S. Out of all the bikes the KTM makes, this is definitely the best one in their fleet for highway touring. The larger windshield on this model does a great job with wind deflection. Now, it's not quite as good as like a BMW R1250GS Adventure, but it's not bad, and I love having the adjustment capability. Engine vibrations are well under control, and the motor turns at a pretty low RPM, even at higher speeds. The mirrors offer a pretty clear view. The seat is comfortable, at least for moderate distances, maybe not for riding all day, and the ergonomics support long distance riding. Having radar guided cruise control is really amazing and makes long journeys with traffic much less fatiguing, as the bike will pace traffic in front of you, slowing down or speeding up to maintain a user selectable gap between yourself and the traffic in front of you. In terms of suspension, it's all about finding the right mode and the right settings. Use the customizations in the electronic settings to find what works for you, as the factory settings can be on the firm side. Alright, this is where things get really good on the 1290S. So if you like a large helping of sportiness in your adventure bike, the 1290S is a really great choice. Now, while sport bike purists will complain about the 19-inch front wheel, the truth is, in the real world, it makes for sharp, nimble handling and a better ride on rough roads than a bike with a 17-inch front wheel. In the twisties, the 1290 is absolutely thrilling. The motor makes power and torque everywhere and is an absolute joy to use. It even makes a really nice sound. Suspension damping is fully tunable, and the baseline settings are properly firm, making for a controlled ride even when ridden very fast. Brakes are also excellent, huge step up from the brakes on the 790 and 890 platform bikes. I would venture to say that this 1290 motor is one of the best street bike engines in existence today.
Hot damn. So much torque. Just, torque and power at all RPMs. This is a phenomenal motorcycle engine. One of the greats. Truly is. Okay, a little bit of 80 to 0 testing. Oh man, very strong. Again, now, oh man, this thing is strong as hell. You feel the anti-dive system in the brakes working. The front wheel, the traction control system's keeping the front wheel on the ground in the first 4 gears. Damn. Roll on power 60 to 100. This bike has all the power you could ever want. Truly. Off-road with the 1290S. It's got the same electronics, as far as I can tell, maybe some slight differences with the R model. So I'm in rally mode, which gives me slip control on my plus and minus here with my cruise control, which is awesome. Love that. And then the suspension, you can change, well, I can go into suspension modes here. Let's see. Suspension mode, auto, sport, street, comfort, off-road. Okay, I can do that. So you've got, the electronics on this are pretty phenomenal. You've got so many different settings. I've got off-road suspension, standard preload, ABS off-road, and then how do I get back to my rally mode?
Alright, so this S model has a 19-inch front wheel, cast wheels, not spoked, and slightly less suspension travel than the R model, about an inch or about 30 millimeters less travel. So is it any good off-road? Actually, yes, it is. Overall, I think this bike makes more sense as an overall package than the R model. The off-road performance of this S model is good enough for probably 90% of adventure riders to tackle fire roads, gravel roads, and moderate trails. The suspension is a bit firm, but can be adjusted in the settings. The handling is excellent for a bike of this size due to the low center of gravity and the overall chassis and overall engineering of the bike is just exceptional. The KTM Rally Mode electronics are like cheating with the 1 through 9 level traction control and really help keep wheel spin in check, plus the reduced power when you go into the off-road modes. Most people looking at a 1200cc class adventure bike are not going to ride hard enough off-road to need the R model. So I think this S model makes a lot of sense due to being a better sport touring bike and better all-around motorcycle than the R model.
Surprisingly good, better than I thought.
All right, what are the pros and cons as I see it to the 1290 Super Adventure S? This motorcycle is really fast, really fun, really thrilling to ride, and has incredible handling. If that's how you measure a motorcycle, this is going to be amazing for you. Next up, it's, in addition to being fast, fun, amazing handling, it does all that, and it's very comfortable. So gone are the days when you had to get an uncomfortable sport bike to go fast and to have good performance. Now you can have one of these SUV type motorcycles, these adventure bikes with a big front wheel and a big suspension travel to absorb the potholes and still go really, really quick. That's what I love about these bikes. They're so versatile and so comfortable to ride. Next up, the motor on this bike is ridiculous. It sounds good, it feels good, it has torque and power at almost all RPMs. It is just a gem and one of the great motorcycle engines of the last couple decades. It truly, truly is. And I can't wait for the 1390 because it's just going to be this, but turned up 10%, which, hey, I'll take it. Another plus for me on this bike that I really noticed, when you're cruising at higher speeds, like 80 miles per hour plus, the engine is barely working. It's geared very tall in the top gears, 5 and 6, and you really don't feel like you're working the bike hard at all. It's a good highway cruiser is what I'm trying to say. Feels very relaxed on the highway. Next up for me, what I really like, the low center of gravity, the weight balance of this bike is extremely good for a huge motorcycle like this with all this capability and with such a huge engine. It feels very light compared to pretty much all of its competitors. The saddle style fuel tank, the way they centralized the mass was a real success. Next up for me, value for money compared to its rivals. Look at everything you get in this package for what this bike costs and compare that apples to apples with the BMW, the Ducati, or others. This is a screaming deal. On top of that, I've been seeing these bikes advertised on sale prices at ridiculous prices for everything you're getting here, all the technology, all the performance. I think this is a very, very good value. Next up for me is a pro, the electronic suspension system on this bike from WP. It gives you so many fine adjustments through that are easy to use through the TFT, through the computer, your preload, your damping, your anti-dive settings. It really gives you a nice amount of control over how the suspension works. Electronic suspension is a real advantage because you can compensate for having luggage, having a passenger, being a heavier rider or a lighter rider. So with a few clicks of a button, you can compensate for all these things, and that's really nice. Next up for me, the way they designed the heat management on this bike is really, really good. 2 thumbs up, because the heat comes out from these vents here and doesn't really affect your lower body. The Norden 901 Husqvarna is sitting over here out of the camera shot, and that bike, I said, really makes me feel hot riding it. The 1290s, I don't get that. I didn't get it on the R, I don't get it on this. I really like the heat management. So many modern motorcycles have this problem. It doesn't seem to be a problem with the 1290. I know that engine has got to be putting out a lot of heat, but you really don't feel much of it, and that's a really nice success. Next up for me, the large fuel capacity and the significant fuel range. Very, very good with that. Next up for me, the technology. It's relatively easy to use, although some of the buttons are a little close together, and with gloves on, sometimes you hit the wrong button or too many buttons at once. And you do hit this, I'm going to talk about this in a second, this button over here by accident. But overall, the TFT is huge and bright and legible. It's pretty easy to navigate your menus and your settings. So I really like how they did all that. Also, in terms of the controls, they backlit all the switch gear. Thank you. So many premium motorcycles do not have backlit switch gear, and at night, you can't see what the heck you're doing. I really like backlit switch gear. Good job with that. Next up for me, the windshield has a really wide and useful range of adjustment, and they gave you the knob on both sides. So whether you take your right hand off or your left hand off, you can do it either way. Really, really nice implementation with that. Okay, all bikes have downsides. There's no perfect bike. What are the downsides that I found on the 1290 Super Adventure S? Number one, the elephant in the room. There's a lot of questions about KTM's position right now with their bankruptcy issues, the financial issues, management crisis, and also concerns about the reliability that have really cropped up. Those are valid concerns, and you're going to have to make a personal decision about whether you feel comfortable buying a new KTM at this point in time. It's a really personal thing, isn't it? And there's so much noise and chatter on social media that it's hard to separate fact from fiction. But these are genuine concerns, and it'd be crazy for me to bring them up. Okay, moving on to the bike stuff. I didn't find the seat to be very comfortable, but that could just be me. And to be honest, I don't find the seats on most motorcycles very comfortable. So take that with a grain of salt. The suspension damping, at times, I like having all the adjustability here electronically, but I did generally get the sense that the suspension damping is on the firm side, so you feel a lot of the bumps, even in the comfort settings and changing the settings around. I still felt like could be a little harsh on the compression damping. So I'm not sure, but I did notice that, something I wanted to bring up. It's a firm setup. I think that kind of goes with KTM being sporty and more race oriented. The engine, so in general, I love the engine, but I have noticed that below about 3,500 RPM, it's not the happiest thing to be at low RPM. It doesn't have the lug factor of like a GS boxer motor or something like that. But of course, you're rewarded with an incredible amount of power, everything above that, going all the way to redline, and a thrilling experience. So I can accept that, but something I wanted to point out. The styling, well, styling certainly not going to be for everybody. Another downside, the C1 and C2 custom buttons up here by the throttle, I hit them all the time. When I tested the R model, I had the same issue. Your glove just hits it because you're up here at the controls. And then all of a sudden you're riding along and the dashboard, you're in the settings. And you're like, why am I in the settings and not on my speedometer thing? And it's because it's super easy to hit that. I like having C1 and C2 because you can program quick adjustments to ride modes or suspension settings, but a little bit annoying right where they put that. The other downside on my short list here is that, I mean, look, it's still an adventure bike, so it's still pretty tall and it's still pretty heavy. It's not a sport bike or a traditional racing bike, but the trade-off is what? Well, you get the off-road ability baked in here, you get the versatility, touring, sport touring, commuting, go off-road on the weekends, go to a racetrack and embarrass some sport bikes. You could do a lot of stuff with this bike, but as an ADV, it is a bit tall and it is a bit heavy. All right, let's briefly discuss the main competitors to the KTM 1290 Super Adventure S. Discussing competition is always such a tough conversation. Let's start out with its off-road oriented R cousin or brother. All right, so how to decide between the R and the S? It should be fairly straightforward if it's not already obvious. If you're gonna do mostly highway, the S version has many advantages, and that's what you should go for. If you're doing mostly off-road or a significant amount of off-road, The R version has advantages for that use, and you should go with that. I think KTM have done a great job differentiating those two models. So again, a lot of off-road, get the R. Mostly on-road, still off-road capable, get the S. A lot of people want to compare this bike, they're cross-shopping it with a BMW GS. And the latest model of the GS is the 1300. This is a tough one. The areas that the GS is better is comfort, refinement, an overall feeling of luxury, and just, I'm going to use the word refinement again, but overall refinement as a package, it's so hard to beat the GS. The GS has several distinct features to it. It's got a boxer engine, which has a unique feel and unique look. It has tail lever suspension in the front, which is very unique, gives it very unique handling characteristic. And it has shaft drive. Shaft drive is popular with people who put on a lot of miles and do a lot of touring because there's no chain maintenance. The KTM, on the other hand, is more fun, more engaging, it's faster, it's lighter. Well, not much lighter actually, it's about the same weight. So, but more engaging, more fun, more thrilling, more smile factor, more fun factor for sure. A bit more firm, a bit more hard-edged, a bit racier and sportier. So it depends on your personality and how you want to use the bike. I couldn't tell you which bike is better. It simply will be up to you. What about versus Ducati Multistrada V4? Multistrada V4 is a phenomenal bike, one of the top bikes in the world in my opinion. The Ducati is very, very good in all respects. The KTM is a better value. It costs a lot less. Do you want a V4 engine or do you want a V-twin? They both make a ton of power. The Ducati has a slight edge in power. I would give the Ducati the edge in handling and braking, but you're paying a lot more for that additional performance. There's pros and cons. They're both amazing bikes. Consider which one you prefer. Try to test ride them both if you can, because either one is a significant investment. What about a Triumph Tiger 1200? A lot of people overlook the Tiger 1200, and that's a mistake. The Tiger 1200 is a very competent motorcycle. My favorite version of it is the GT version. It has the 19-inch wheel. So you've got the Rally, the Explorer version. The GT version, the GT Pro, not the GT Explorer, is my favorite version. You should cross-shop that. You can get a great deal on that. It's shaft drive. It has a really amazing 3-cylinder 1200 engine. It's really phenomenal motorcycle in almost every regard, and a lot of people overlook it, and that's a mistake. All right, final thoughts on the KTM 1290 Super Adventure S. If you simply look at this in terms of features and performance for your dollar, I don't know that there's anything that can match this currently on sale. It really is very, very impressive. As an overall motorcycle for all-around road use, for everything from commuting to sport touring to sport riding to touring to an occasional track day, throw in some pretty legitimate off-road ability, and this is an incredibly compelling overall package. It's thrilling, it's comfortable, it has great features and technology. There's so much to like here, and like I've said multiple times, for the money, this offers a lot of performance for the money. I think that the 1290 does a good job offering a rider a sportier, more engaging, if slightly less comfortable, less refined alternative to something like a BMW GS, and I'm really glad the 1290 exists. It's one of my overall favorite motorcycles to ride that I've ever tested, and I've really enjoyed my time with it. All right, I was really sincere about those 2 requests at the beginning, so please subscribe and please use my affiliate links when you're shopping. If you have questions, put those down below. Other than that, thank you for watching. Ride safe. I'll see you out there.